If held to a U.S. Muggle standard, is Harry guilty of attempted murder or battery? Take a look with Magic Me JD. A murder conviction can stem from an intentional and premeditated killing. This is not found here. Harry intended to question Malfoy about cursing Katie Bell and had no intention to kill him. I mean, this kid didn't even use the killing curse against Voldemort. However, a person can be guilty of murder in other ways, such as one causing death due to extreme recklessness rising to extreme indifference towards human life, or 2. When the intention to cause serious bodily harm unintentionally causes a death. First, Harry was extremely reckless, and it rose to the level of indifference towards human life. The average person who values human life simply would not perform such an action. Magic is dangerous, if anyone should know that, it's Harry. Using a spell that's nature is unknown is as reckless as it gets. The spell could have been anything. Plus, it's clearly not a friendly spell, as it was noted for enemies in the Half-Blood Prince textbook. You don't need to be a Ravenclaw to decipher that. There is an argument that little Harry was only 15 and couldn't recognize the seriousness of his actions. But considering the wizarding world snapped 13-year-old Hagrid's wand on bogus hearsay, it is doubtful there is a juvenile system. Harry would be tried as an adult. Secondly, it can also be argued that in this heated duel, Harry wanted to seriously injure Malfoy. These two had been fighting for years and Malfoy brutally broke Harry's nose previously. So Harry was not looking to have a cup of tea with him. This was war. But of course Snape saves the day and Malfoy survives. Murder could not be found. So let's look at attempted murder. Here there is no attempted murder. Generally, attempted murder requires specific intent to complete the crime of murder. Attempted murder can only be attached to failed intentional or premeditated murder. So oddly enough, we find that even though Harry could have been charged with murder had Malfoy died, he cannot be charged with attempted murder because he did not intend or plan to kill Malfoy. Plus, any manslaughter-related charges would likely fail because there was no death. Did Harry drink some liquid luck? Not so fast, Firebolt. What's below murder and manslaughter? Battery. Battery requires the defendant to intentionally make unlawfully physical contact with a person, and that physical contact must be extremely offensive or result in bodily harm. It is important to know that physical contact does not need to be direct like a Muggle fist fight. It counts as long as the person had control over the object that made contact. First, it's clear Harry intended to use a negative spell and intended for the negative spell to hit Malfoy. The spell counts as physical contact because the magic came from and was controlled by Harry. Secondly, Harry succeeds in causing bodily harm to Malfoy. The spell imitates the slash of a sword, making the harm especially serious. Therefore, because Harry intentionally made physical contact with Malfoy through a spell and that spell resulted in serious bodily harm, Harry can be found guilty of battery. It's not looking good for Harry. But thank Merlin for a Patronus-like shield called self-defense. Self-defense allows a party to defend against imminent harm from another. Self-defense requires that the defending party only use the force necessary to avoid imminent harm. Deadly force is generally forbidden if the force from the other party doesn't reach the level of deadly force as well.
You hacked it, didn't you?
Malfoy performs the first spell against Harry. The spell misses. Although silent in the book, the first spell uttered by Malfoy was Crucio. So was Malfoy an imminent threat to Harry? Yes. Crucio, the torture curse, is one of the unforgivable curses. After Crucio, Harry was in his rights to defend himself from clearly imminent harm. That leads us to the last major question. Did Harry's level of force cross the line? It's debatable. Malfoy's defense would argue the use of deadly force. Deadly force which was more than necessary to defend against Crucio. Crucio causes excruciating pain. The worst effects of the torture curse are probably exemplified by Frank and Alice Longbottom, whom were so mentally harmed by the spell they were unable to raise their son. Crucio is clearly serious, but does not seem to result in physical injuries. Therefore, Malfoy could argue the Sectumsempra went beyond the necessary force needed to combat Crucio. Harry could counter that he was questioning dangerous Malfoy about almost killing Katie Bell, and Malfoy used an unforgivable curse in response. All this considered, Harry wouldn't be unreasonable in thinking more harmful spells could follow, and despite his brave Gryffindor disposition, likely feared for his life. With all the arguments being made, Harry's conviction would rely heavily on the jury. A jury full of Umbridges is sending him straight to Azkaban, and giving Malfoy an award for services to the school. A jury full of Dumbledores would side with Potter and award Gryffindor 1,000,000 points. All joking aside, a fair jury would be a jury made up of Lupins. A Lupin believes in right and wrong and would take jury duty seriously. With the case being so close, a unanimous decision would be unlikely, resulting in a hung jury. Harry's acquitted. Admittedly, Magic Me JD is a bit rusty on criminal law analysis. What do you think? How would your jurisdiction handle Harry? And what do you think about the movie immediately giving Harry the first kiss with his future wife right after potential attempted murder and/or battery? As if Harry was not anguished by his actions. Bloody hell. Leave a comment below and keep up with Magic Me JD.